Hey guys, Liz here with Springfield Leather, and this is episode 1 of season 2 of the Make Something podcast. We've got the one and only great Chris Andre with Slick Bald Customs in the house, not only just today, but all week. So we've been getting to know each other quite well, I feel like, in a small room at an 8-foot long table.
Yep.
But welcome. I'm super glad to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Chris, I know that you have been out and about in the leather community for several decades now.
A couple anyway.
But for people that are hidden under a rock, what is it that Chris Andre does?
Well, Chris Andre is a holster maker, and I do a lot of instructional materials and templates and pattern packs, and I teach a lot of classes across the country.
You sure do.
Yeah.
What specifically for you has drawn you into teaching and educating and helping the craft?
You know, I grew up, I would say geographically remote. I was a whole 5 miles from town, but when you're little and 5 miles is a long ways. Mm-hmm. And so I had to we didn't have like people to learn from. Mom got me started at a very early age, like first grade, and I took to it. You know, I just took to making stuff, and I had to learn everything the hard way. And you know, I didn't know how to sharpen anything, and so I was fighting dull tools. And I'd fight the tools, and I'd get my project done for 4-H or for Christmas or whatever I had to do, and then I would just hang it up because I was tired of fighting that leather.
Yeah.
And then finally got to the internet age and figured out there was better ways to do things and found some instruction. Finally, in 2008, I took my first class. Started in 73. So, or 74. But anyway, yeah, it took a minute to find a teacher. But
sure.
once that happened and started getting on that path, and I got into the journal shows. And I really started teaching, well, one, because Cheryl kind of forced me to.
She's good at that.
Yeah, there's a whole story there. But mainly I do it because I enjoy helping people out. I know the struggles I went through, and if I can help somebody not have that struggle,
yeah,
you know, hey, your knife's too dull. Let's sharpen your knife. You know, that just basic stuff, even just the basic stuff. But there's a lot of times where I see people a little light comes on.
Yep.
In the class, and that brings me joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know one thing that you've mentioned a lot so far this week as we've been doing live videos is I've messed this up one way. And I'm here to tell you the way to not mess it up. You know, like learn from my mistakes.
I've learned all this stuff the hard way. Yeah, before I had any instruction, or even after, because I'm that guy I'm not just going to learn something and do it that way forever. I'm going to try and improve it or tweak it, or well, what about this? You know, this finish or that finish, or this product or that product. Yeah. Or let's see if this will work or that won't work. You know, I'm always trying new stuff. I can't just sit down and make 100 holsters.
Right.
I respect the people that do that. That is not my game. I make things one at a time. I do them, to the nth degree. And that's the only way I can do it, I guess.
Yeah, that's the leather craft that speaks to you.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So you make a lot of different things. You're capable of making things, but you do holsters.
True, yes. That's
what the Slick Bald is kind of all about.
Pretty much. And ideally, it's, Western holsters, the Western rigs and stuff for the cowboy shooters and the fast draw guys. Mm-hmm. Mostly because, concealed carry's okay to make. It's fun. And, I do it a lot. But there's no carving. There's no art on it. It's just a holster. And we can make them as nice and, and make them be a piece of art in and of themselves just through their refinement. But the Western holsters has all that canvas to carve on, That's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. So you started your first class. You took a class in 2008.
Yeah, I went to saddle school.
You went to saddle school.
Yeah.
Who'd you go to saddle school with?
Dusty Johnson, who at the time was in Loveland, Colorado. And I was trying to get him. He's a holster maker as well. And he was in the gun spinning competition game, right? So he made a lot of the B Western stuff for the spinners. And I told him, I said, man, you need to teach me how to make, come take a class on holsters. He says, no. And I'm like, what? And he says, you're going to take a saddle class because you're going to learn more about leatherworking in general, taking a saddle class if you never make another one, which I never have. I had plans, but never have. And he was right. He was right. And then in 2011, I went to John Bianchi's school for holster making and refined things a little more. And I do things pretty much like John did. Yeah. A little different, a little different.
You put your own little signature on it.
Yeah, just, different weights of leather than he used because I think, for the structural reasons. And I have I don't want to say engineering background. I have a strong technical shop skills kind of background. Industrial arts, we'll say. Mm-hmm. I have all the shops at my house. So it's I try to apply all that stuff that I learned back when I was building machines, and where it fits. Not all of it fits, but where it fits, try and squeeze it into leathercraft to make it better. Yeah.
So you have a military background.
I do.
And then you came out of that, and you just do the gun thing for fun. How did you get into doing the SAS stuff and all that competition shooting?
Strangely enough, we went to our first SAS match in the late 80s in California. We were my boys and I were at a shooting range, just a commercial range. And I was shooting like a target style, as opposed to a combat style. I was standing out there with my, like this at 50 yards shooting stuff. Mm-hmm. And these two guys came up and they said, hey, you got, obviously we're, had the haircuts, we were jarheads. and you guys are Marines? Yeah. And, you're a marksmanship instructor? Yeah, long story short, I was a marksmanship instructor. And he says, well, we're cowboy shooters. Come over here. We want you to test some stuff for us. Okay. So he had a rifle case full of 44 Magnum Blackhawks, right? And he said, well, shoot this load and this barrel. These guys were high-tech engineers. I mean, there was a plane that flew around the world. They did the avionics for it back in the 80s. Smart guys. So they're like, oh, shoot this load and this gun and this barrel length and that barrel length. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So we did all this stuff. And then I see they're two brothers. And one of them is back there loading this gun. And then he hands it to me, says, smiles at me, he says, shoot this one. Oh, shit. So I did. And I ran a fresh target out. And I'm standing out there. He says, now that one you better use both hands. I'm like, okay. Your guns, I'm not going to argue with you. So I went out there and boom. And the boys behind me are like, holy crap. Look down, there's 2 bullet holes in the paper. He says, yeah, that's our stump cutter. So we figured out how to load 2 200 grain bullets in a 44 Magnum without blowing up the gun.
Oh my gosh.
He says, we set the record for like 4 guys shoot a stump, and the first guy, time clock stops when the stump breaks. Okay. And they set the record at like 16 seconds. But anyway, that's how I kind of got started in it. And then I took a huge gap, had a whole first marriage, and got pretty deep into the second marriage. And I was set up at a gun show selling holsters. Okay. And had some, Western stuff out there. And one of the club presidents happened to walk by and got me involved. So we signed up and started shooting. And pretty soon we got Terry signed up and she started shooting.
That's awesome.
And so now we're both gunfighters and we have a ball. So
your leather work is pretty well tied to that industry.
For the most part, yeah. Ideally.
Hand in hand. So how does your kind of involvement there, I guess, does your involvement there kind of inform some of your leather craft, or how do those two things play together for you?
There's some, they're hand in hand. Yeah. One goes with the other, I suppose. I don't know.
Do you find your business there? Do you find clients in that world?
Yeah, you bet.
That helps.
Yeah. It'd help more if we went and shot more, I think. But we've been so busy traveling and everything else. We're on the road, I think, 8 weeks a year, going to shows, doing stuff like this. So makes it hard to get your chores done and be on the road and still go shooting. Yeah,
have time to play a little bit, and so that's the hobby. So for you, leathercraft. You grew up with it. Yeah. Your mom encouraged you. Yeah. You had that whole background.
Did
and then
4-H and all that.
You did life there for a minute. Life got in the way.
Pretty solid minute, yeah.
And you found your way back to leathercraft. So what is one of your kind of favorite things about the leather industry that keeps you going?
Well, I'll tell you, the craft is the craft, but it's the people I get to see at all the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of, again, I still live where I grew up, so I'm still a little bit rurally isolated. I just choose not to go to town now instead of cry about not going to town. It's much happier in the barn.
Yeah.
But so I see all my dearest friends at these shows, and that that kind of keeps me going, and helping people keeps me going.
Yeah.
And
I think that's one of the most common threads when I talk to people in the leather industry is that, I mean, they love the material and they love working with leather, but they love the people.
Right.
And they love the community. And leather brings all kinds to the table. Anybody can be a leather crafter for whatever hobby it is or whatever interest they have.
Right.
They can make that a part of it. And watching somebody begin in leather and then kind of grow and, like you said, find those light bulb moments, especially with teaching and encouraging. And I know for a lot of the people that I work with or that the customers that I'm familiar with, leather is a therapy for them.
True, yeah.
And whether
it's a disconnect.
Whether or not it's something that they're actually making money on, or it's their hobby for gift giving, or maybe just like a little bit of a side gig. They can put themselves into that piece of art and feel good about it. Right. They have the agency over what they're doing. And you don't get a lot of that in the world anymore.
True. It's true. It's kind of like you shut from having a hard day or a hard week or whatever, and get into the shop, close the doors, turn on the music, and just make something. Doesn't even really matter what it is. But if I can tune out whatever troubles might be outside that door and focus on what's inside the door, and then it's a therapy. It is.
Absolutely. Let's see. So you travel a lot for your classes? You go all over the world?
Well, we go to Europe.
You go to that is all the way on the other side.
There's a whole lot of world to go to, the whole world. But yeah, we go to Europe and teach over there. Bobby Beard and I used to go over there and take a 3-week tour. We'd go to Holland and Germany and Switzerland and teach in each place.
Do you find that there's any differences between teaching here and teaching over in Europe?
Well, other than the language barrier, not a whole lot, honestly. I don't see a lot of differences other than the language. And most of the time, people either speak pretty good English, because the only people that don't speak multiple languages, only countries, are ours and French, right? Yeah. Everybody else seems to speak. Serge speaks 7 languages. Everybody speaks more than one language, at least 2. Yeah. Right. Which is pretty handy for us because we don't. Because
a lot of times English is one of those.
Yeah. If not, there's usually someone who can interpret. Yeah. But it's other than the language. No, I think the teaching is pretty much the same. I turned my sound off, and Bobby Beard just texted me right there. That's what that noise was. That was Bobby Beard.
He's been watching our show.
He is. He's probably like, "You're supposed to be on at
10." We're coming, Bob. Don't worry. Let's talk about Bob for a minute.
Sure.
He is a legend.
Oh, absolutely.
In the leathercraft community, and I feel like you probably know him some of the best out of.
We've spent a lot of time on the road together. Yes, man. We have traveled the country together, and
he's quite a person.
Yes, he is. He's larger for a little bitty guy. He's larger than life, no doubt about it.
How has he inspired you or when did you meet him? Tell me that story.
Well, I took the very first show I went to. Well, the first show I took a class at was 2011 in Sheridan. And the first class I ever took at that show was one of his carving classes. Okay. I'm like, man, this dude he's just telling stories, and he's teaching the class, but he's telling stories, and this dude's pretty interesting guy.
Yeah.
And I started vending right away, simply because I needed an excuse to go to the shows and make money. I didn't have money to just go like a vacation,
What were you selling back then?
Blue guns. I started Maker's Leather Supply, for a fact. Okay. And very quickly sold that. That's a whole nother story. But at the end of the day, I was setting up my booth, and Beard's story is that guy looks like he can carry heavy things. He's looking down the aisle at me, So we went out, and after we were all set up, we had some downtime before they served us dinner. So we went out, sat in the car, and he kind of picked my brain about what I was after in the leather industry, and I told him, and he quietly decided to take me under his wing, and we've been rolling ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
He is. I've only gotten to kind of speak with him here and there at the shows, at Sheridan. But he always has, he's the kindest person.
Oh, sure.
He's very sweet. And I know I've kind of come in at the kind of the cusp end of his legacy.
Right.
In the leather industry. And I own one tool. I bought one tool. We went up to the IFOLG show up in St. Louis several years ago, and he was set up there at the booth, and I spent my like $120 or whatever it was on this one meander border tool that was just really cool. Yeah. And I didn't really know a lot about him at the time. Right. But he's just he's this person that is just larger than life.
Absolutely. I mean, back in the day, he hitchhiked across the country several times. You know, his parents lived in L.A. They got him out of L.A. to keep from going completely sideways and put him in North Carolina with the rest of the family. And him and his buddies would just go back and forth on foot, hitchhiking across the country. All the people that he has met, the bands that he's done work for. Again, it's hard to fit that much life into one person. Right. That much
I know,
life
it makes me
experience.
feel like I'm not doing anything.
Right. I know it. Right. I'm like, it's but he's again larger than life guy. If you ever have a chance to sit down and chat with him, certainly do.
Yeah, take it. Is there like one thing that you would like one Bobbyism that you? Bobbyism. I don't know.
I don't know. He's
like any leather craft, just like piece of diamond that he dropped for you.
There's lots of little tiny tips, things to do. The irony is, I haven't sat down and done a lot of leather work with Bob.
Really?
Because we're always teaching in different rooms at the same time. We're in the car. We're at dinner, we're whatever we're doing. We're rarely, I can't think of, other than that one class, that very first class, I can't think of a time where I've taken gotten down to sit down and learn leathercraft from him. Yeah. Ironically, I think. But that notwithstanding, no, I can't think of a single one thing. It's just a cloud of
what I'm getting is that he taught you how to be in the leather industry.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. More than anything, he's mentored me in the business side and in the getting along with people side. Yeah.
Yeah. When did he start making tools?
I want to say in the late 70s, he started making his own tools very early on because he couldn't find tools that he wanted. Right. So he would modify. He made tools, and then he had found this miraculous place called Tandy where he could buy tools, but he didn't like them, so he changed them, he modified them, and he worked back and forth with Al Stolman on tool designs and different things, and Al sent him a bunch of impressions. He's like, well, shit, I'm already doing this right. Yay, kind of stuff. And then, the timeline is he started making them professionally, I want to say in the early 80s. Okay. Yeah. Wow. And that's an evolution. You're going to have to interview him for that whole story.
No, absolutely. Gosh, there's so. Every time I go to a show in the leather industry, there is so much diversity and history and information. It can be overwhelming, and I feel like, especially if you're a new person into that, you might feel like, oh, I need to pull back a little bit. Oh, there's my favorite person that I see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You've got Brandon Corral, whoever that it is that you're seeing. And I would always just tell people, like, go say hi. Yeah. Like, go meet. Like, you're sitting at your booth. Go sit down and be like, hey, Chris. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Give me some tidbits of information, or just sit down and talk and start to build those relationships, because I feel like that more than anything is going to encourage you to keep going.
Sure.
in the craft, because it is such a personal craft.
It is.
You know, you're sitting in your own room doing your own thing,
right.
doing your therapy, whatever.
Right.
But going to the shows, entering into the leather debut, you know, getting feedback from the giants of the industry. Right. When did you start judging the leather debut?
2014 was my first year to start judging.
Amazing. Yeah.
I won the previous 3 years. And I think Tony was tired of being a judge, so they asked me to be a judge for the class, which was great because, you know, go out on top, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've had a decade.
Oh yeah, over a decade
of judging
that show. You bet.
I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? What do you think about maybe the competition specifically, or just kind of?
Well, I think, you know, it's a way to show off if that's what you want to do. Sure. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a name for myself, and I did. It's also a way if you're kind of in maybe not a place for a beginner to enter. Yeah, it's more of a guild opportunity. But if you're, you know, an intermediate maker and, you know, maybe you're not going to win, but maybe you're going to get some really good feedback from a couple of judges. I'm not the only one in the class.
Right.
A couple of judges. That'll help you move forward, you know, improve your work, get that feedback. So, hey, you know, this is, you know, you can do this different and better. Or this is just, you know, this is why this is absolutely incorrect.
Yeah.
And incorrect is usually comes down to, in a holster, it comes down to a safety issue. You know, we're going to point that out. And if you're making unsafe holsters, you're going to want to learn not to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the biggest benefit to that show. It's not the, you know, the $500 prize or the blue ribbon. Like Beard says, you can't live on ribbon soup, you know. You gotta,
right.
But it's good, the feedback, I think. And I try, it's challenging, man. It's to sit down and write feedback for 15 different rigs. It's challenging.
Yeah.
That and my penmanship sucks. So most of them, people probably can't read them anyway. but you know, I would say argumentatively the feedback is the main reason one might consider the debut in any category, whether it's chaps or saddles or, you know, pictorials or whatever.
Right. What's one of your favorite things about the debut, whether entering or judging? My favorite thing is walking around looking at this cool stuff, you know. Yeah. You get people like Yoni that goes in there and makes a life-size hawk, full leather hawk. Holy cow, man. I looked at it from the outside and I just thought it was like part of the room.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a really cool taxidermy hawk.
I got to see it kind of in process. We went out there and taught in Portland. Beard and I went out once, and I went out once by myself. We stayed with Yoni at his house and got to see him, you know, the pile of feathers and the body of the hawk, which, you know, looked like a face and then, you know, nothing else. Mm-hmm. And then to see it completely done was just mind-boggling. And, you know, certainly he's not the only one. Daniel Reach had that pirate ship in there last year.
That was amazing.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And that's just two of 100 different pieces that are just blow your mind walking around in there.
Yeah, I feel like the leather debut is like the place to go to see what could be done with leather.
Right.
Things that you would never imagine.
Right. And if you're feeling cocky, definitely walk in there because you won't be cocky when you leave.
Right. You're going to get taken down a couple of notches. No, do you remember when you entered the first time that you entered, how many entries were there that year?
There were quite a handful. I know my main competition that year was Chuck Smith, who had done this amazingly carved rig, carved front and back. Had a whole like a 1920s Hollywood movie scene with the old Mickey Mouse cameras and you know what the Mickey Mouse cameras are? Okay. And everything. And
that's awesome.
And I went in there with an oak leaf, a full color oak leaf double rig, and I beat him by a point, I think. And apparently he wasn't very happy about it. He was always kind to me. But I got word when we got home that he was pretty pissed off about it. But nonetheless, what are you going to do?
Right.
And then the next year I came back and I went full tilt gonzo, full agreed rig, double Buscadero, Stingray underneath it. I mean, it was crazy sauce. And there were two other people in the category. Yeah. So, like, man, I put a lot of effort into winning, beating two people. Then the third year I went back, I actually had a commission piece that I was able to take. Usually all your competition pieces sit on the shelf in your shop forever.
Yeah.
Because there's too much.
You're building something for you.
Well, not so much that, but I've got so much in that rig to sell it. No one's going to pay me for that much money for that rig. And I'm not going to sell it cheap because that's going to diminish everything else I do. So it just sits in the next to the pool table. But I had a commission piece, and there was quite a bunch of people in that third year.
Nice.
So I actually had a little more sense of value, I guess.
Right.
Winning that one.
Right. I was just kind of thinking about maybe the scale of what the leather debut, because the show's been going on for 20 years now.
Maybe
like
pretty close. Pretty close. It's not as old as the show itself, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. And so I would imagine that back when it first started, the entry, just quantity of entries would have been less.
Since I started in the first year I went was 2009, and that room was still full.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it ebbs and tides like everything else does, but there's always a pretty good showing. There's people from literally all over the world in that show.
The very first leather debut, I was able to, I think it was 2016, and it was close to when like the last one in the at the hotel.
Yeah.
And just that little room, kind of like off the side. And there was one of the Japanese artists had done a pictorial carving, and then like there was like a dragon coming out of the frame.
I think I remember that one.
And like I was like, I've never seen leather done like this before.
Right.
And I know a lot of people getting into leather, they think that they need to make something practical.
No.
They think that leather needs to be a wallet or a purse or.
Well, if you're trying to sell things at the weekend craft fair, yeah.
Right.
But if you're just doing something to do something, man, make it crazy. Go.
Yeah.
See what you can figure out. Read the articles in the journal. Kathy and Jürgen are in there. There's two of the more extreme carvers out there, I think. Kathy Flanagan and Jürgen Volbach.
Yeah.
They do the extreme emboss work. And it's amazing. It's if you want to try and do something cool, just to do something cool, man, that's the stuff
And that's the place to
get weird with it.
Yeah. No, and I think I've been trying to get Denny on this a little bit more because he kind of does that. Just like, I'm going to make a practical little thing. I'm going to make a purse. I'm going to make a thing. But I'm like, let's make art. Like let's make something to hang on the wall.
Right.
Because I think that leather is just a more cool medium, maybe just because I'm biased, than a canvas, with some paint. You can have that three-dimensional.
You get that 3D thing going, yeah.
Yeah, I like to encourage the folks out there to push themselves and to do something that's a piece of art that you're going to frame and put on. Shoot, Legos, or we're framing Lego and putting it on the wall. Like we can make some cool leather art.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to the carving, because you're so limited on these little spaces of practical items. But like really to challenge yourself to do something that's just like a really cool pictorial thing, and I don't know, make that a market. There's rich people out there that buy art.
We could just find them.
We just gotta find them. Where are those people? I hear that they're in what's that little town up in Idaho Jackson Hole. Yeah. I hear that there's some rich people there.
They gotta be. Cost of living there is high. We did a couple of shows up there 2 or 3 years in a row. And just an RV spot was a couple $100 a night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I don't know what rent is.
We're like, guys, this is crazy.
And that was in Jackson proper. Jackson Hole is actually outside of Jackson. It's the ski resort. So it's kind of more like a little resort village, I would say, than a town. But the town of Jackson, that's historic town in Jackson, Wyoming, is very cool. I recommend visiting and staying far away.
Just drive in when you want to get there.
Yeah.
Stay on the side of the road somewhere. Pitch your own tent.
That's it.
All right, so let's hear it. So you make holsters.
I do.
You make holsters. You make holster educational material.
I do.
A little tidbit, you can buy from Springfield Leather all Chris's pattern packs.
You are my only full line retailer.
Got it all. And then in the past year, has it been a little bit over a year with the acrylics?
Less than a year. Yes. We started that. Prescott was the first year. We technically started in January. We started selling in Prescott, and we got it online March or April, I think.
Very cool. Yeah, so you took all the paper pattern packs.
Pattern packs, yeah.
Because everybody nowadays, they just want to be able to trace something out, which fair, that's fine.
That's fine.
You don't want to glue your paper to your cardboard or whatever.
Right.
You just want it to come in an acrylic with a nice little label and all the little things. So now we carry the full line, so you can get holsters. You got your Western holsters.
All the gun belts.
Kind of the whole line of acrylics. Let's see here. Maybe just some like top of the mind tips and tricks for people that want to make holsters. What's kind of this is your baseline information.
This is going to upset people. Be a shooter.
Okay. Use it.
You got to use them. You can't make gear for stuff, an activity you don't participate in.
I hear that.
I don't do mounted shooting leather.
Okay.
It's still Western gun leather. I don't do it. It's a different paradigm. It's a different thought process. The holsters are not the same.
Okay.
And because I don't play that game, I don't make those holsters.
Right.
I was a combat instructor, pistol instructor, that use the word combat very loosely. I was a helicopter mechanic. But I went to that training and was a primary marksmanship instructor for all that. So
all the people in the helicopters really appreciate you.
Well, I was the front line. Yeah. Put Sergeant Andrew up front. He can shoot. Because I was a squadron instructor. But yeah. So I understand the concealed carry aspect. I do carry myself, and I, certainly, the cowboy game is shooting. And I've been a competitive shooter since the 7th grade. I think I was on a rifle team, and I did some team shooting in the Corps, and then now SAS. And so you got to kind of be in the game. I don't make a lot of saddles because I quit riding horses in '85.
Okay.
When I went into boot camp. I never had the lifestyle after I got out of the Corps to get back into horses. It just wasn't practical for the family I had at the time. So I never got into making tack and saddles and all that stuff, and I still don't. I said I have plans to make a saddle. I do. I have a 100-plus-year-old, 120 or 30-year-old saddle tree that came out of my family's homestead barn. It was up in the rafters. It was a Dell and Scholkampf saddle, they made circus saddles. So they made saddles for elephants, they made saddles for the pony rides, they made saddles for the circus.
Oh, neat.
And we had this it's a 12-inch seat pony saddle, but it's a saddle, it's not a miniature, it's an actual saddle. And I took it to a show, an antique show, cowboy antique show. Mm-hmm. And I said, the guy had one. I said, let me go get this saddle. I brought it in. And he says, man, if the leather was in good shape, it was all checked out. It was in the roof, rafters of a barn in Colorado. So you're going from 120 degrees to, below freezing. He says, if it was in good shape, it'd be a couple $1,000. But he said, as it is, it's about $100. I'm like, well, that's great. I'm not selling it. And I said, now I don't feel bad about taking it apart and rebuilding it, right? So I went home and took it apart and photo journaled everything and sent the tree down to Bowden and one of their guys, they wouldn't do it. Bowden wouldn't do it as a company, but the guy that does the wrapping wanted to take it home because he thought it was cool. So he took it home and did it for me. I paid him whatever I paid him. Mm-hmm. So now that very tight 100-year-old saddle tree is just sitting in my shop mocking me because I don't have time to mess with it, But I will. It'll get done.
Retirement goals.
Yeah. What's retirement?
Exactly.
Yeesh. I don't even have a vision for that. And 65 is not that far away. But no, I don't see retiring. As long as my hands are working, I'm working. This is the way it goes.
I hear that's how you live the longest. So
I would dare to say so. Yeah.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
So you got to use it. You got to know.
You got to be involved with the game. If you're gonna make leather for a game, you got to play the game. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what. I don't care if it's frisbee golf. You got to play the game.
Oh, the frisbee golf. Do you frisbee golf?
No, I got my nieces and nephews, unrelated nieces and nephews, play the frisbee golf. And the guy that worked for me on and off, and he's turned into a pretty good friend, younger guy, closer to your age, is making the gear for the frisbee golf. He's making the little bags, the special bags and all that stuff, but he plays, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to be into leather work and you don't really know what to make, figure out what your hobby is and make stuff for that hobby.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start. You know what you're looking for and you know what's on the market.
Right.
And then you can be like, how can I improve on that?
Right.
How can I know that these things are missing just from my own frustration with whatever thing I can buy on Amazon.
Or this is cheap junk, I can make it better.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And as an example, my saddle instructor, Dusty, he was into everything. He'd get into something and get into it heavy, and then he'd get bored and go to something else. So he was in the model airplane hobby for a while. And apparently there's a rule, you can't just set your remote down and walk away from it. You have to have it on you. So he made this little hanger deal.
Okay.
Where everybody saw it and everybody wanted one. So he probably made 150 of them little hanger deals. And then after that hobby, he got into Indian flutes, like Carradine in the Kill Bill movies, those flutes. Well, he started making these cases for them. Then you go to these flute ins, I don't know what they call them. and people are like, wow, I got in. So he started making those, you know. So if you get into a hobby, figure out what the niche is, make some stuff, and they'll sell themselves a lot of times.
I think that's a great piece of advice for somebody that's getting going.
Yeah.
Find a cool thing that you can kind of sell to some of your friends, maybe.
Right.
And then go with that.
Right.
Let's see. So maybe like holster specific. What are some of the biggest issues that you see with specifically a leather holster? Or are there like pet peeves?
Man, that could be controversial pretty quick. I'm a big fan of liners. I can't walk down a holster aisle in a store.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not into single layer holsters that have been dipped in plastic to make them stiff. I'm not mad at it. Obviously, a lot of high end people are doing it. A lot of low end people are doing it. It's kind of the way to make a production holster.
Yeah.
The liner does a lot of mechanical. It's not just there to be pretty. It's not there to be snobby. It has a mechanical purpose. It makes the holster stiff, and I'm not going to get into the whole class like we did. You can go back and watch the stuff we did this week. It really bothers me to see holsters that they'll put a commercial edge. I'm going to call it a commercial edge versus a hand rubbed edge on their holsters, but they don't finish their holster belt slots. That drives me crazy. Just finish the damn. They don't even edge them. I'm like, come on, man! It's not that hard. It takes a second to edge a holster slot, maybe two. Mm-hmm. Finish your slots. Finish everything.
Yeah.
Don't stop halfway. I guess.
Do the whole process.
Yeah. But in a lot of times, I see most of this isn't so much what I see on the shelf, because those are well designed anyway, regardless of whether I like how they're made or not. They're well designed. What I see online a lot of times, people that don't allow, certain rules in holster making, right? First rule in holster making is retention. You should be able to turn the holster upside down, the gun stays in and fully loaded, right?
Okay.
Period. Retention is key. The next thing is you need to be able to grab that pistol the way you're going to shoot it, right? You don't want to have to pull it halfway out and re-grip it.
Sure.
And I see a lot of people run the leather all the way up to the grip. Well, you can't get your fingers. You can get these two. That's not a positive grip. That's okay for a knife. If you're pulling a knife out with two fingers, I understand. On a pistol, you should be able to get all three fingers around that grip.
Okay.
So you got to leave room for that. The other thing I see online a lot is people who put the death strap across the grip instead of the frame. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, the death strap is it's called a thumb brake holster.
Yeah, I've heard those words.
Okay. So I call them a death strap.
Okay.
Because you're messing around with that thumb brake, the bad guy's already on you.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, it needs to go across. On a revolver, it goes behind the hammer. Revolvers, typically not an issue. It's hard to put it over the grip in a revolver. But on an automatic, it should go over the top of the frame, or the back of the slide, rather. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I see them putting it across the grip. So now you can't, not only is it in the way to get it undone, it's in the way of your hand to pull the gun out. So you have to literally move the strap all the way out of the way and then re-grip it, and by then you're just dead.
Yeah.
As far as combat holsters go, or self-protection holsters, concealed carry holsters, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And it was in the squirrel group on the Facebook, right? The whatever it is.
I know what you're talking about. With
And
the
the guy who one of the guys that started that, he says, "Man, I noticed you haven't been active in the group." I said, "Yeah, I'm kind of tired of arguing with idiots. I'm not here to argue with people."
Right.
He says, "Hey, I kind of understand that and this and that." And then somebody posted a picture of that was a 1911 holster with a strap across the grip, and I very kindly, very professionally kind of explained why we don't do that. And all I got was pushback. "I've been making ulcers for 20 years. And it was just like, whoop, done. See ya.
Yeah.
And I haven't been back. I'm not there to be the big guy in the room, as it were. But I kind of know what I'm doing.
Right.
And if you don't want to listen to me, that's okay. I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. You go be a dumbass by yourself. I don't care."
Yeah.
So that's those are my biggest things, is people not realizing you have to be able to get the gun out in a hurry.
Right.
But they call themselves a holster maker. Getting back to Maker's Leather Supply, the reason I sold Maker's Leather Supply is because the margin on those blue guns was pretty slim.
Yeah.
And typically you get on the phone with a talker. They want to tell you their whole life history and all this stuff. And dude, I'm busy. I don't have, I can't spend an hour on the phone to make $10 on profit on this gun. And what used to get me, and kind of get circling back to, I've been a holster maker for 20 years, but I still don't know how to work my strap. Hey, I used to have a deal. You get five blue guns, you get a discount, right?
Okay.
All right, I need your 5 most popular blue guns. I'm a holster maker. I need your 5. I don't say this out loud, but I'm like, no, you're not a holster maker, or you would know what the 5 most popular ones in your area, because what's popular in Longmont is going to be different than Pocatello, Idaho, or
right. Yeah.
Maryland, or wherever you're at. And so, that just jaded me to the point where like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Customer service is tough.
And I had gotten into the teaching.
Yeah.
And so now I had to pay my way to the shows. I didn't need makers as much, and I'm so glad that Aaron stepped up and got it. Mm-hmm. And I'm real happy with what he and Janie Sue did to it. I'm going to right in public, I'm going to give Janie Sue all the credit for that. Aaron's a creative dude. Janie Sue built that business. And I love them both.
She's a powerhouse.
Oh, she is a powerhouse. She's a pistol.
Yeah.
And I love them both, but I believe that correct me if I'm wrong, Janie. But that notwithstanding, I'm real glad for what they did. I've told them several times I was real proud of what they did with that name.
Yeah. And that's really awesome that could continue and become what it has been.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For the leather industry.
You bet.
When Kevin first started here, obviously it was Tandy Leather when he was working. He worked for Tandy for 25 years. Like, he had a long career with them. And we've been Springfield Leather for a little over 25 years now. And but back then it was literally just Tandy.
Right.
That was it. That was it. You had Tandy and then the leather factory, and then they combined and whatever.
There was a Hidecrafter was there for about a minute and a half, and then they went insolvent.
But it's been a pretty tight market as far as like the craft goes. You know, if you're so-and-so furniture maker, you're going to go to the tannery and you're going to buy your leather and yada yada. But like for the crafting industry, really like the 90s was like 80s, 90s, you had Tandy. That was what was out there. That was the thing. And so we've seen, a pretty good spike in the past decade of kind of like these little specialty businesses that have been forming. Yours started around the holster thing. Like that was your thing. And now it's grown to makers and what they are now.
Right.
And so as the craft community has grown, you also have these other kind of more specialty businesses popping up, and they all have their own little lanes that we're all, I think, doing pretty good in.
I think so. It was when I first got in, the internet was kind of weak.
Yeah.
When I started playing this game, the internet has really, really grown the leathercraft community and opened it up to a lot of people that I just don't think would have even known it existed if it hadn't been for the internet.
Well, for sure. I mean, if you live in middle of nowhere, Colorado, like, where are you going to get leather?
Right.
Like, where are you going to find information and supplies?
Exactly.
Tandy, even if they have 50 to 100 stores wherever they're at, that still puts maybe 2 stores per state.
Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe.
We've been talking about how big Texas is. Like, there's a lot of Texas between 2 stores.
Yes. There's a lot of
Texas. So being able to order things or call people, and then just the sheer amount of information that between YouTube and all of these other platforms, Etsy coming on the market.
Yeah. Where
a crafter then can sell to more than just the local
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm both in the leather world and then with the knife stuff. And so I see both of those industries really spiking in that 80s era. Like, people wanted to do something. They wanted to make something with their hands.
Right.
They kind of wanted to get out of the factory or whatever, what we were doing.
whatever the day job was.
Yeah, whatever the day job was. And they just wanted to make something.
Right.
They wanted to feel like they had some agency over something of their day.
That's it.
And that's when you saw like the knife makers and all of that. They started coming up. They started kind of looking back and being like, what was that Damascus thing?
Yeah.
Well, and you're a knife guy. You're a leather knife guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go to the Blade Show now and you set up there.
I do.
And you're starting to kind of meld. And I think, I feel like maybe the first year there was a little bit rough.
The first year is always rough.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned about going into shows to retail, to sell goods, right, is no matter how many competitions you've won or how good you might be, and even just walking around like, man, everybody else here is kind of mediocre. Not everybody, but majority is leather makers. Because they're knife makers and they're making sheaths because they have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't really want to, but they kind of have to. But the thing is, nobody in the knife world knows who Slick Bald is.
Right.
Right? Because they don't read that magazine.
Right.
Right? They don't go to those shows. So they don't know who I am. They don't know whether they can trust me or not.
Right.
And I think it takes a long time getting in, especially those big shows. I'm not talking about local shows. I'm talking about the big shows. Blade's 1 million square feet.
Yeah.
And it's full. I mean, it's occupied. People are like giving you the hairy eyeball. Who's this dude? Yeah, it's pretty neat looking work, but who is this guy? You know? And it takes a while to kind of break into that. And I'm more of a leather supply retailer at Blade than I am a leather maker. Yeah. I have my one little display of leather there and I never sell anything. And that's okay because I sell a crap load of, leather and a crap load of other
supplies,
things. The supplies that I bring.
Well, yeah, because they're going and they're like, oh, hey, you got some saddle soap? Cool.
Yeah, right.
Like, I need some
also,
of that.
The biggest draw, and I got to give mad props to Barry King, is I take his travel kit with me and set up Barry King tools there. And just as soon as the room figures out there's Barry King tools in there, people are beating feet to my booth, which is bitching.
Well, and that's one of the relationships that you have built over the past 20 years of going to the shows and being there and being reliable. Right.
And I first got to know Barry a little bit going to the WISA show before I even knew there was a show in Sheridan. We were going down to WISA, Buddy and I, just to sightsee, basically. We didn't have any business being there, but we had the credentials to get in the door, so we'd go down.
I think that was the first time I met you.
I'm sure.
At a WISA show.
Yeah, probably. And, that's where I met Shep the first, a couple times, I think, and all the guys there, and Tom and everybody else. And then we started going to these shows. Like I said, in 2009, we took it literally, it's 5 hours from my house to Sheridan. And we did the show in one day. We drove up, did the show, came home that same day. Because we didn't have the money for a hotel at that time. It was kind of lean in that time. I had just gone full-time. No, in 2009, I was still working in 2009. I went full-time in 2011. Getting fired helps. You just right into full-time.
You're like, well, I guess this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I was a production manager, and the owner and I had conflict.
Sure.
And he was the owner, so there you go. I don't mind. It was a stressful that day, but it turned out to be a good deal.
Right.
But that's where I bought my first knife, professional knife, and got to know Paul and Rosa Zalzak a little bit. And then when I went back in 2011, they kind of I was walking around. I didn't have the top hat yet. I was still, had my little biker vest on and my little Scottish hat. And I was really amazed at how open people were to talk to me and to bring me in as the new guy that didn't look like everybody else. I didn't have a cowboy hat on.
Right.
I was wearing boots, I'm sure, because I'm wearing pants and typically wearing boots. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. But I was really, really kind of taken with, again, how just nice people were. You go to a gun show, and then unless you're buying something, no one gives a crap about you. And you're at a leather show, people are nice. Yeah. I was going to walk. I didn't realize the distance, how far it was between the hotel and King Saddlery for the party, right? Okay. For the reception.
Yeah.
And it's raining. And I'm just walking down the road in the rain. And Jeremiah and Colleen Watt pull up, and he says, "It's farther than you think. Why don't you get in?" Oh, okay. So that kind of kindness, and it's never stopped. It's never not been kind there. I've never had a ill experience at one of those shows.
No, everyone is so welcoming.
Yeah.
And they just immediately, they're like, "You do leather? Yeah. Like, how can I help you do better leather?"
Exactly. Or how can you help me do better leather? One or the other. There's a conversation waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a really, really special place.
It is. And I would argue Sheridan is the most special of the shows. It really is.
I don't have any other experience with the other ones, but I also think the Sheridan is very special.
It is. It was the first show for the Journal anyway. Mm-hmm. I think the Brownwood show was maybe one of the first ones. That was a boot and saddle show. It started in Brownwood.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the most family reunion show.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Because your top of the top are there for that weekend.
Right.
And I kind of look at other industries out there, and I feel like the leather world is so unique. That's a week worth of classes.
Yeah.
There are dozens upon dozens of classes happening starting on Monday for a show that starts on Friday.
Right.
And I cannot think of another industry that I've experienced where you have so much education packed into a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's everything. I mean, from saddle making to wallet making to just carbon.
To digital information.
How to draw, your patterns. The digital content. Brandon's brought that in. And Brandon and Magnus both are doing the digital classes.
Yeah.
Which is bitching because, Terry took one and it's helped our business.
Yeah.
Because she's taken over my social media stuff, which I'm so grateful.
I mean, that's a whole nother level to the business. Yeah. It's not like you're not just having to make something anymore. Now you have to market yourself and you have to be available and you have to be online.
Search engine optimized. And, good Lord. So I know more about that because I have to than I want to. I assure you. I would rather just be in the shop pounding leather and let somebody else deal with that. But
such are the times.
Yeah. So, but and I've had to learn. To make my pattern packs, I have to learn how to do graphic arts. Mm-hmm. I'm not a graphic artist. I'm I'm more eraser than pencil when I'm drawing. Okay, so be a graphic artist now. Crap. So, but I had to learn how to do all that stuff, and now I'm very proficient at running that little particular graphic arts program to make my patterns and to make sure they're accurate when they print. They're not the different.
And that's a whole thing. Yeah, just literally going from it looks good on the screen to when it comes out over here, it's the same.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then I had to learn how to use a CNC. I bought a CNC machine to make my holster presses with. And that was a whole learning curve that I'm still learning.
Yeah, you had to buy a whole laser.
I bought 2 lasers because I burnt the first one out. Don't buy cheap lasers. X-Tool is so there's levels of tools, right? Mm-hmm. So there's the retiree soccer mom level machines for people who want to make cool stuff and go set up at a craft fair, and that's great. That's why I'm not knocking these. I'm not knocking that section of life at all. But when you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go get sheets of acrylic and I'm going to cut sheets of acrylic ad nauseum. I mean, that's just until we're out of sheets of acrylic, right? And I got it's a X tool was the name, and it's a good tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good machine. It's it's Chinesium. That's fine. Most things are. But at the end of the day, I burnt the head out. It wouldn't cut plastic. It would raster. It would engrave, but it wouldn't cut.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, screw it. My buddy has an Epilogue. Jeff Mosby has an Epilogue. Grey Ghost Graphics, if you need a stamp made. It's a $32,000 machine.
Mm-hmm.
So we leased that one. We didn't buy that one. But dude, it cuts like, and you can't burn it out. You can't choke it.
It's ready for your production.
It's ready for production. Yeah.
That's your difference between your X tool as a prosumer model and then your pro model.
Right.
A prosumer?
That's a new word for me. Thanks.
You guys ever heard of prosumer?
No.
It's like cameras. Like there's a consumer model, there's a prosumer model,
and then there's a pro model. No.
A prosumer is usually the people that are like in between. Like, might be a side hustle, but you're not full into it.
Gotcha.
Prosumer.
Okay. Well, good to know.
New words.
Teaching old guy stuff. It's all right. But yeah, so and it's the same with the CNC. Had I known, hindsight being what it is, I would have probably went out and got a Saber, something more akin to what Rusty has. We were talking about it last night. Because you could put a full sheet of plywood on it and turn it around and walk away, come back in 30 minutes, and it's a bunch of little pieces.
Right.
It is amazing how fast these things can run. Amazing. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the machine shop building parts and doing, stuff when I was in the machine tool business. The speeds and feeds that these things can accomplish with the new engineered bits that they use is just insane. 110 inches a second.
That's wild.
That is incredibly wild.
Oh my
goodness.
And
it's scary.
Yeah.
The chart says I can run at that speed. I run it instead of 110. I run it at 80. Okay. Because in my mind, I cannot grasp the fact that it's not going to something's going to blow up at 110. Something's just going to disintegrate.
You're just like, I'm going to come back to plastic, melted plastic.
And 80, well, it's all wood, but it could be on fire. And I've walked into some train wrecks, the bits breaking, and I didn't have it clamped down right, or there's a learning curve to everything. That's what started this conversation. I had to go out and learn how to do that. I had to learn how to run the lasers, and it's none of it's leather.
Right.
None of it's leather, right?
I'm just trying to pay the bills.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Okay, where's a hole I can fill? Okay, that one. We'll stick some. Right. We'll get in there, and that's where the holster templates came from. So, the Makers has a ton of templates, and
that's the new thing.
Pikes Peak Saddlery has all their stuff out there for tack.
Yeah.
And that's great. And there's other people getting into it, but no one was really doing it for the holsters. And I figured that was my niche. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I just hadn't been able to get the machine.
Yeah.
But,
all right, let's see here. So you're getting into leathercraft. Maybe we'll just say holster specific. What are the basic tools that somebody needs if they're going to build holster?
Proper head knife, a proper leather cutting knife. Whether it's a head knife or whether a Japanese draw knife. Box cutters work, but gosh, cutting thick leather with a box cutter, those blades are kind of flimsy. Yeah. And it's very easy to snap one if you're fighting a tough piece of leather like we were fighting the other day. Freaking
rawhide.
Rawhide in the middle of it. A solid 32nd of an inch, just for people watching that didn't happen to catch that.
That's a good layer.
Of rawhide, and I'm trying to cut it. The sewing machine wouldn't even go through it. That sewing machine will go through a penny, and it wouldn't go through that leather. Yeah. So avoid that. Avoid rawhide in your leather. But no, the proper knife is key to any leather worker. I see people online. Occasionally, I don't follow a lot of people online. Usually, it's because somebody, hey, have you seen this? So I'll go look at it and go, oh my God. And the one time I went, oh my God, this guy's cutting 9-ounce leather with a scalpel. And I'm like, dude, that's just wrong. If you practice something wrong long enough, it'll work for you.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's right. It just means you've done it wrong long enough that it works for you. So a proper knife. I'm a huge fan of a French edger as a skiver. I call it a push skiver. It's not an edger at all. It's 5/8 of an inch wide. What are you edging with a 5/8 wide tool? It's a push skiver. Those are those are my main two suggestions right there. I mean, tooling's tooling. That's a whole other ballgame. But as far as making goes, if you're hand stitching, professional awl, step up and spend a little money on your awl blades. Learn how to keep them sharp. Learn how to keep your knives sharp.
Yeah.
A dull knife, as everybody probably knows, a dull knife is the most dangerous thing you can put in your hand. Because you're going to fight that knife and you're going to fight it out of what you're working on into your body somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
So we've all done it. I've done it. I'll tell a quick little story. Shortly after saddle school, I was cutting a piece of leather, and we're on camera, right? So I was cutting a piece of leather, and I had it curled up in my hand this way, and I was cutting. This is wrong. I know. Save your comments. I know I'm stupid. And this was a long time ago. So anyway, I'm cutting this way, and that knife popped out of the leather, and it's coming at my hand. And I'm trying, my brain's going this way. And no, momentum, because it was boom. And time slowed down. And all I could think to do was turn it sideways, so it bounced off my knuckle right across there. There's hardly even a scar. And I went in and got myself stitched back together, almost cut through the tendon. Right? Yeah. And I had to do something that I couldn't do without a piece of equipment that Dusty had. So I went up to, hey, I'm going to come up. Okay, so I went up there. I told him what happened sheepishly, And he says, well, it's a good thing that knife was dull. You wouldn't have a finger, maybe 2 or 3. And he tells me a story, which I will share. This is called Make Sure Your Knives Are Sharp. He used to work at Porter Saddle when he was a youngster, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the guys, in saddle shop, or a commercial saddle shop, you don't have one guy making a saddle and one guy making a saddle, one guy making it. One guy cutting leather out, you got one guy doing assembly, you got people have stations, right? Well, the guys that were on the cutting table, he said, were typically the more experienced guys. And they said there were a cutting table, it was up against a wall, and a guy was cutting stuff, and he turned and talked to somebody. And he was still talking to somebody, and he was like reaching for a thing of leather, and he couldn't grab it. And that's because his fingers were sitting on the table, and he was just shooting blood all over the wall. So make sure your knives are sharp and pay attention to what you're doing. Don't look away because you're so good you don't even have to look at your knife. You got to look at your knife.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's a bad day.
That's a bad day.
Oh my goodness.
And that was probably back in the day before they could stitch them back on, Yeah. You cut something off back in the 40s and 50s. You just didn't have those things anymore.
You didn't have robots to go in there and find all the veins. And
that's it. Put everything back together.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So to get back to your question, a good sharp knife.
And learn how to use it.
Proper leather knife.
Yeah.
Learn how to keep it sharp. And that's the key. Everything else is ancillary, but the sharp knife is the key.
Do you think it's necessary for somebody to go all the way to be like, okay, I'm going to go to Grizzly and I'm going to get like a grinder set up, like a little thing, or like learn how to use your rouges?
To begin with, certainly learn how to do it on a strop.
Yeah.
The challenge is it's hard. You almost have to...
Or I guess get stones, but like...
Yeah.
Those are even finicky.
And sharpening a head knife is a... And here's why people, how do you keep your... How do you sharpen your... I don't sharpen my knives. I do not sharpen my knives. I keep my knives sharp.
Right.
They come sharp from the maker. That's as sharp as they're going to get, is the one they come from the maker. And my job is to keep them that sharp. And I use power tools. Yesterday I was using my conveyor belt with stuff on it and keeping them sharp. To begin with, learn how to do it on a table. Learn how to do it with a proper strop, whether it's a leather strop or I use a piece of conveyor belt. There's a lot of different options out there what you can use for a strop.
Yeah.
But learn how to take care of your knives and keep them sharp, and then you don't have to worry about sharpening them.
Right.
Because they're never dull.
Right. And don't do anything stupid where don't cut through your rivets or...
Yeah. Or, a bunch of rawhide.
Rawhide, yeah. That poor knife.
We saved it. We didn't ding it. We saved the knife. It's okay.
Yeah. At what point do you recommend somebody go from hand sewing to machinery, to buying a sewing machine?
For the most part, it comes down to economy. Are you making enough money to justify a $4,000 machine or a $3,000 machine, whatever size you're going to get? Mm-hmm. For myself, I went to a machine as quick as I could because hand stitching hurts.
Well, and it's so much time.
And the arthritis doesn't get any better.
Right.
Then the time is a factor. If you're trying to make money on any level, whether it's on the weekends or as a second gig or whatever, time matters. And I teach people when I do the stitching class, I always tell people, if you're a production guy, you can run those machines full gonzo, fast. But I tell people just like riding a motorcycle, the faster you ride, the more it hurts when you crash. I have my machine as a professional set up at about 3 stitches per second, which is pretty slow, way slower than the one in the classroom there. And at 3 stitches per second, that's still probably
exponentially faster than
hands. And I've seen people that are real good at it. There's my friend Giza over in Germany. She works for a leather shop, and she's one of their hand stitchers.
Okay,
it's kind of a high-end shop, and she did a little demonstration for us, and I'm like, and she was moving, man, and it was perfect. So you can hand stitch at a much faster pace than I can hand stitch.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't do it every day. I do it some.
Right.
When I make my miniature holsters, I hand stitch those because it's 12 stitches per inch, and that's pretty.
Yes, that's tight.
That's a lot to ask for a machine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes down to economy. If there's not a physical ailment forcing you to get a machine to do your work, it comes down to economy. Can you justify the expense? And then give yourself a couple years to pay that machine off. You're not going to pay it off in the first week,
right?
And they have financing for these, for those machines, and it's reasonable. Mm-hmm. So if you can, even just make your monthly payment with your leather work, that machine's paying for itself.
Yeah, it really does increase production so much that if you're like, okay, I used to make 1 purse a month because it took me so long to hand sew all the parts together, and now I can make 1 purse every week,
right? Because
I can move so much quicker, with my machine.
You bet.
So,
you pick up a 52-inch Buscadero gun belt and hand stitch that, and it doesn't take long to justify a machine.
I don't think I've ever hand sewn a belt before, and I don't intend to.
So that's one of those deals where someone's going to have to pay me to do it. You know, and that's the thing. I'm a pretty pricey guy. And to add another $100 onto a holster because it's hand stitched, there's a market for that. I don't know where it is.
Exactly.
But there's a market for that somewhere.
If you can find it, let us know.
I have this kind of dream of going to like the Safari Club or to like Barrett Jackson or somewhere. Barrett Jackson more than the Safari Club because I'm more of a car guy than a hunter. But at the end of the day, that's still a 5-figure booth. So you really got to have your ducks in a row to go play that game. And then we back into the same situation. Well, nobody knows me the first year. Nobody trusts me.
Yep.
Right?
You have to put in the time.
So man, maybe you're eating a 5-figure booth and you don't, on top of travel expenses, and you don't make anything.
Yeah.
So it's a crapshoot pretty much every time you leave the house, I think.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. Yeah.
It's fun doing your own business.
It can be. It can be a lot of damn stress, too. It can be a lot of stress, man. It's like, what can I sell to make the truck payment this month? Kind of months sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for people getting going?
Sharp knife.
Sharp knife.
Sharp knife will make your life so much better.
And a proper cutting surface.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I don't have one of those, and Chris it's been a rubber
on
the road situation.
Somewhere in this town is a plastic supply house that sells just sheets of plastic. Go get you a sheet of UHMW or HDPE.
Oh, we do it. That's the only table that doesn't have one. I don't know why we put that cutting surface on that one, because like all the tables in Gathering have the poly on them. Like we buy 4x8 sheets.
Right.
We put the poundo there. I'm not sure why. I'll ask Denny next time.
I don't know. I've never. So I've heard a poundo board. I've seen it. People use like to glue it to the back of a piece of a stone so they can turn it over and punch holes or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you can't cut on it.
No.
It is just. I
mostly
sticky.
sell leather on it. So that's fine.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, Chris. Well, I think that's a pretty good hour. I don't know how long we've been going. We good? We're good.
All right.
Do you have anything else you want to add today?
I'm good at answering questions. I'm bad at just telling people stuff.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of the Make Something podcast, and we'll be back with you next time. Have a good one. That's a wrap on this bonus episode of the Make Something podcast. A big thank you to Chris for taking the time to come all the way from Colorado to share his story and process with us. If you want to check out more of Chris's work, you can find his website at www.slickball.com, and you can order all of his patterns and templates from springfieldleather.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow maker. We will be working on season 2 in the coming months, and we'll be back with you all this spring with a new lineup of makers. Until next time, keep learning, keep crafting, and most importantly, make something.